and I had an idea for one, but I feel
A
like just
premise?
me mentioning it, yeah. But I feel like just me mentioning it is gonna make it impossible to stick to.
Do you
So I'm
remember?
gonna try to organically bring it up.
All right. I anticipated eagerly. Do you remember when we were talking about
Like
podcasts
halfway through, I'm
initially?
like, dude, isn't it crazy? Like the amount of coal use in China. And it's like, wow, that's obviously what the title you wanted it to be.
Very nice. Very smooth. Do you remember when we were talking about podcasts initially and we were like, or I think it was you who brought up the complaint, like, isn't it amazing when when you see like a podcast title that's just like the punchline of a joke they make in the podcast, and it's like 3 hours long and you're just waiting for this joke and it finally comes and you're like, well, fucking, I already knew the punchline from the title, so what was the point?
Yeah, and then they're like, dude, we should totally make that the name. And it's like,
I remember when I watched Game
then they
Grumps.
start laughing about it, and it's
Yeah.
like, well, that kind of ruined.
When I
Not even
watched
funny.
Game Grumps, I bet you $1 million we're gonna do the same thing and not notice the fucking hypocrisy of it at all.
Yeah.
When I watched Game Grumps like religiously, when I watched Game Grumps for a long time, every time I saw a title that was like, what the fuck were they thinking with this title? You get 8 minutes in and they say some fucking non sequitur phrase and they're like, yep, that's the title of the episode. And you're like, all right.
Dude, what is it in Star Wars when they say Star Wars?
Do they ever do that?
Yeah, they do in like one of the movies.
Well,
It's like-
gentlemen, looks like we got ourselves some Star Wars over here.
No, he says something like, "Look at all these chickens." Like Star Wars. No, I'm serious. He really does say like, "There they are." Star Wars.
I'm looking it up.
Like that.
Star Wars title drop. I'll be the fact checker.
Is it called title? Oh, dude, you're the Jamie.
The Jamie?
Yeah, you ever watch the Joe Rogan podcast? Either way.
I've seen some of the Joe Rogan podcast. I'm very partial to the Joey Diaz episodes. I love that man.
Dude, we should make our whole episode like
Just reviews of other podcasts.
Could you imagine? We should make ours a podcast companion where you can't actually hear the original podcast because you're listening to the over. You know what I'm talking about? The over.
Oh yeah,
You
shit.
know how people.
The
it's like-
commentary, yeah.
Commentary, but they did it for an only audio podcast.
All right. The only thing I could find for Star Wars title drop is that. Oh shit, car. There was an Upright Citizens Brigade sketch where a man was like, "Yeah, I had the title line in Star Wars, but they cut me." And the scene was he wanders into the Millennium Falcon and says, "I'm so tired of all these Star Wars," and then walks out. So that might be what you're thinking of.
There's no way. That's got to be true. I remember because I remember hearing that people say that all the time.
I would love for that to be a real scene. That'd be fantastic.
Where have you heard the term title drop?
Title drop? I don't know.
Yeah.
That's just what it's called. You remember Food Fight? You remember Food Fight? They have one in the beginning of the movie. By the way, I saw Casablanca recently for the first time in my life, and I was like, wow, this is just Food Fight.
What?
It was
Is it
incredible.
really?
Yes, it is. Are you
That's
serious?
like the equivalent of the Lion King with whatever.
With
it's called.
Hamlet? Yeah, I watch Hamlet, and I'm
Yeah,
like, this is
Hamlet.
just the Lion King. No, seriously. Do you remember in Food Fight how Dex is the fucking owner of the he's the owner of the Copa Banana, Dex Dog Detective, and he wears like a white tux everywhere, and he finds that fucking like poop rat in the alley, and the poop rat goes, "You despise me, don't you?" And that's it. That's a fucking directly lifted from Casablanca.
Wow.
It was incredible.
Isn't it true that Food Fight like they had the whole movie set up? And
Yeah, in like 2003, and the entire movie was stolen in quote an act of industrial espionage.
Do you think that there's actually a chance that the original is actually good?
Oh shit, that's a good question. Do you think that if we could locate the original cut of Food Fight and we'd watch it, we would come out like tears in our eyes, like that was beautiful? That was the most amazing movie I've ever experienced.
Like this one's like that. The original one. I mean, the remake is like Casablanca, but the original one was like all numbers and Corinthians and every story in the Bible. And we were like, finally, I understand the Bible. Like I didn't beforehand.
What's your favorite Bible story? Finally, I understand the Bible as told to me by Seymour, the sun-kissed pelican.
And Charlie the. Oh wait, isn't it Charlie?
No. Yeah, Charlie is Charlie the The tuna dolphin? I don't fucking know.
Yeah.
I don't, why is he the tuna dolphin? Isn't it like horrible to eat dolphin? Like it's really frowned upon socially?
Well, it's not just that. It's just that dolphins get tied up in the nets for tuna. So they
really?
die because they don't clean out the nets and they
Wow.
get stuck in the nets.
So you can catch dolphins by accident when going for tuna.
Exactly, because the dolphins are trying to eat the tuna, so they just kind of...
It's like fucking homeless man like searching through the trash for McDonald's, and he finds like me, and he's like, "You're my new best friend," and I'm like, "I don't agree to this," and he's like, "But I found you in the trash, finders keepers." I was trying to think of something valuable. I didn't want to say $100 because that was fucking obvious, or like filet mignon because that would keep with the food theme.
You ever hear that story? This has not very little to do with what... Don't expect there to be at the end of the story where I tie it all back because it doesn't. Because I forgot the tie. Forgot the part where it connects to what you just said.
I forgot the zip ties.
I remember reading this story that I forgot what kind of bear, so I don't want to name drop the kind of bear because what if this...
I don't want to title drop the kind of bear.
Yeah, I don't want to like my people to blow up my inbox saying, "Hey, it's the wrong bear."
Blowing up my Instagram.
Bear. There was this one bear that people would where it was one of the main things that it eats during hibernation before it actually does the sleep is it eats mainly other bear cubs.
What the
That's
fuck?
one
Really?
Of the main things it looks for, yeah. So people were saying this story. I heard this story or I read it or something. I don't know. I'm making it up. No, I read this story where someone was like on a trail driving or something like that in a place where there's bears all over the place, and they saw a bear. And it was this is a very disgusting story. Anybody who's listening to the podcast, cover your ears.
Take the headphones out, put them down, come back in 2 minutes.
Yeah, just wait, just count. Okay, so it would there was this the mother, sorry, a daddy bear, a male bear, came up to a child bear and ate it, and it like ate half of it, like it pulled it away.
Which
and
half?
The mother came. Yeah, just down the middle, like just, the right side. It was diagonal, like a sandwich with the crust cut off.
Awesome.
So
I love that shit.
You can probably hear the pipe right now, huh? Can you
the
hear
pipe? Oh yeah, only a little bit in the background. Don't worry about it. Anyway, back to this bear cannibalism story.
Yeah, so there was so the mom kind of shooed it away, and then once that other bear ran away, the mom was like kind of sniffing the dead half, and then it was like, and then it just ate it. It just ate the rest.
It was like, oh, my son, I am pretty hungry.
It's for like pretty much the equivalent of like an Italian mom, like making a bunch of food for all their kids, and then like at the end, everyone's like, no, I already ate at school, and then the mom's like, well, I guess I'll make myself a plate, all sad. You know what I mean?
That's a strangely good analogy. How does that relate to homeless man looking for McDonald's in the trash and Charlie the sun-kissed dolphin?
Sometimes, you gotta break a few eggs.
In order to make Charlie the sun-kissed dolphin.
Dude, speaking of Charlie the sun-kissed dolphin, we should have a podcast that's a rip-off of every other podcast wherein we watch Food Fight every day, every single time we actually see each other. And even if we see each other for a week, we watch it all 7 days until the point where, like, by the 20th episode, we know every single word, and we keep...
And we just recreate it verbatim on the podcast?
Yeah, sort of. Yeah, pretty much.
That reminds me of the first episode of Knoxcast Radio. You know Robert Benfer, Knox? He's the little blue Clayman man?
Yeah.
You remember those animations, Knox's Corner? And then Jason Steele, who did Charlie the Unicorn, Llamas with Hats, my all-time favorite shit, The Cloak. The Cloak was a great one.
Yeah.
Anyways, he did all those. He's a phenomenally good, hilarious man. And Knox is not at all funny outside of his claymations. So them two together is just a horrible combination. Every episode of Knoxcast Radio is a train wreck. Where no one has any idea what's going on. And I love it. It's my favorite podcast of all time. Anyway, in the first episode, they read Hamlet. Like, they both have the script. And he's like, all right, you be Horatio, I'll be Mercutio. I think Mercutio is from the Merchant of Venice. Never mind. He's like, you be Horatio, I'll be Hamlet. And they're just reading their lines at each other really badly and in stupid voices. And then, like, 10 minutes into the episode, they're like, this sucks. But we're supposed to do it for an hour, so let's keep going, and it's fucking torture. Some of the episodes really do approach a genuine goodness, though. I really do like some of them. Like for episode 10, okay, this is just going to be me gushing about Noxcast Radio for the next minute and 30 seconds. Don't worry about it. It's an awful podcast, but I love it so much. For episode 10, they put a ton of reverb on their voices, and they make it like cave reverb. So they're like, yes, we now live in a cave because several intercontinental ballistic missiles struck the U.S., and there was nuclear radiation, and the entire eastern seaboard has been destroyed. And they're like, well, I've got my dog here, but in the nuke he was fused with 2 other dogs. I brought my collection of ballpoint pens and this Evita soundtrack by Madonna. It's like, what is happening?
That sounds like such like a stream of consciousness. Like...
I know, it was insane. I really love that episode. I love a lot of those episodes. There's this arc in Noxcast where like every 10 or 15 episodes they do another one of these like, now we are underwater. There are aliens. It's like fucking every 10 or 15 episodes they do some sort of outlandish scenario. And there becomes like a story arc to them. Like there's this one where they go to Socktopia, like they crawl down Robert's washing machine or dryer. It's definitely dryer because it starts like eating his socks, and they send a drone down there and the drone dies. So they crawl in there and they're in a world made entirely of socks with little sock people. And it's fucking they you know Twisty Treat, the ice cream place? Twisty Treat ice cream. They find out that like the big villain is Twisty Treat ice cream, but not like the company, like the buildings. Like the buildings are after them. They're like slowly shuffling along the ground.
Are they scripted? Is this scripted or is it exactly
No, it just kind of goes. You can hear Jason be like, "Oh my god." And Robert's like, "What?" And he's like, "It's a Twisty Treat ice cream building." And Robert's like, "Really? In the cave? Are you sure?" Like he's contradicting him, like he doesn't know what the story is either. The only scripted episode is the last episode, episode 75. But it was obviously meant to be like produced in this big like explosive finale, but instead of using any sort of like polished recording with all this effects work, they just use like their first table read ever with like no effects. So Jason's like, okay, and he flips the page and he's like, and then right here there's a big explosion, so like, and they're just doing that. And then at the end of it, Shakespeare is there and he's like, I've come to kill you because you ruined Hamlet in your first episode.
Jesus.
It's ridiculous. It's like on some level, like it's a nostalgia critic movie. Like that's what's going on. It's that level of like, Sonic is here? Yes, you said bad things about my game. It's fucking incredible.
God. That sounds like it's like starting with episode 2. It's nothing but fan service. But it's like, you ever see those like Google Dreamscape things where it's like it takes one picture and then it takes every circle and turns it into an eye and turns it into everything else, where it's like it has 0 things to go off of. You know what I mean? Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's like, have you seen Edges to Cats? Yeah. Same type deal. Yeah, pretty much. You ever watch, I feel like, I don't want to...
I feel like Pablo.
I don't want to... Usually, yeah.
We should get Pablo on this podcast.
That would be cool, dude.
Unfortunately, I'm going to live in the woods for 3 months, starting Friday, so it's going to be a while, but we should definitely get Pablo on this podcast.
You know who else we should get on here? I've been getting a lot of requests to get Dan Hibden on here.
Oh, man, I love that guy. I'll see what I can do.
Yeah. That would be great.
I would really love...
Yeah?
Oh, I was going to say, I'd really love to get him on here and then dramatically reveal to him that you are M. Bison and you've been commenting on his videos for like 5 years.
I don't know if I would enjoy that.
How are you gonna live with yourself when I reveal to Dan Hibden in front of you that you lied about me having ALS?
I don't know. I think I don't know if I'll be able to handle that.
I think I'll just kill myself on the spot.
I think, dude, I think this is not a good idea what's the word? What's it called? To critique your own podcast.
Why is that?
Say, we didn't choose the best time to get into the podcast race.
Why is that?
I feel like
because we live in a post-serial world.
Because every person who what's it called? Every single person who listens
hold on.
realize...
I'm going to predict what you're going to say. Every
Yeah.
single time you watch the comedy storytelling show, This Is Not Happening, in which it's hosted by one guy and he brings up just great comics and sort of up-and-coming comics. Every person he introduces, some people have a book, some people have a TV show, but every single person he's like, you know him from his podcast, the WTF podcast, Mark Maron, everybody! He fucking introduces every single person with a podcast. Everybody has a podcast in the world.
Exactly, dude.
Every human has a podcast. We did not pick a good time to do this.
If you like made some sort of like app or something that would have someone like
That just erases other people's podcasts. If I had an app on my phone that could get into your phone and erase podcasts you were meaning to listen to,
that would be cool. You just go to the Joe Rogan podcast and you just take delete. You just put X on all of them and no one could ever get them. I remember that would be cool. I was thinking is like you start off with the Joe Rogan podcast and he's with like Joey Diaz.
Yeah.
And then the next episode on the app is the Joey Diaz podcast interviewing Bill Burr, and then you get
and then the Bill Burr podcast interviewing Mark Maron, and then the Mark Maron podcast interviewing Joey Diaz or whoever it was to complete the loop.
Yeah, but then it gets even weirder, where it's like some guy interviews like Andy Dick, and then you're like, wait a minute, Andy Dick has a podcast, and then the next one is Andy Dick interviewing like some guy who works at a Starbucks, and then that guy has his own podcast. It's like this huge rabbit hole, and then you get the guy.
It's like a cosmic game of tag, but if you don't have a podcast, you have to make one in order to pass it on.
Yeah, see, that'd be cool, right?
But then it becomes like, that'd be great. Have you seen trailers for the movie Tag? It's about
Tag?
This group of adults who's been playing the same game of tag for 10 years. And like they cross paths, like they're friends from like high school or whatever. And when they cross paths in their daily life, they try and tag each other. Same game of tag, 10 years. It has Hannibal Buress in it. And I might go see it just because of that, because I love Hannibal Buress. But it does not look amazing.
I gotta say, what do you like about Hannibal Buress? Because I was listening to his podcast, and while he is somewhat funny, I must say that I don't know if I get the hype.
I don't know if I can really.
I think he's a great rambler when it comes to saying things in a low tone. You know, when he's very good at saying things in a low tone, and then the other person laughing. But I don't know if that other person is ever me.
Wow, it's a good way to say it. It's very eloquently put, Postboy. I almost said Justin. Fuck.
Ooh, that would have been close. You almost, dude. Don't say Justin.
Don't say Justin either, you fucking Postboy. By the way, when are we going to do the podcast intro? Because it's already started. We've been recording for like 20 minutes. But when are we going to do the intro?
Is there an intro? I thought we were just going to do a cold open like in
What's
Breaking
up?
Bad.
Well, we did. We already did. But you want to do an intro now, 20 minutes in?
We can either do the cold open, or we can go so far in that we're like the X-Files and we don't have the intro until episode 2.
Oh, that reminds me of, did you ever watch Erased, the anime? That show freaked me the fuck out, not because it was spooky, but because their title cards happened like 15 minutes into a 22-minute episode of anime. It's like, what the fuck is this?
That's what was scary?
Yeah, that scared me. I was terrified.
When are they going to come out? You ever watch The Forgotten? I remember hearing someone describe the Forgotten to me, and it was so much scarier than when I saw it in real life.
I don't know what The Forgotten is.
Really? It was a horrible movie. See, it's one of those movies that when someone describes it to you, it's a lot scarier than if you saw it in real life.
The premise sounds scarier than the real thing.
Yeah, it's like someone actually, it's about like this woman wakes up one day and no one remembers that she had a kid or something, and boo, you know what I'm saying? Does it scare you? Dude, it's a lot scarier when I describe it because there's no boo in the movie.
Bro, I shit my pants. I watched Fight Club on a plane, and it was so good I shit my pants.
Really?
Yeah.
At what point?
Well,
I don't want to spoil the movie.
I don't want to spoil the movie for our listeners. Anyway, what's up, podcast fam? I'm Badman, and this is Postboy. Welcome to Badman and Postboy. Episode 1. Postboy and Badman.
Yeah. I'm Postboy. This is Badman. Welcome to Postman and Bad Boy. I already messed it up.
That's even better.
All right. So, You may know us from
You may know us from
that
our
one
fucking
episode from the
CV
Dragon
Redding
Ball Z
Smash
anime.
Quest for Salt commentary.
Yeah,
Holy shit.
that's for the diehard fans out
Oh
there
god.
who've been
I don't
following us
think
since day one.
I don't think a single person who will hear this remembers that. I
I don't
think
think
the Venn
anybody
diagram for
on
that
this
is just
planet
two
remembers
circles. I remember that. Have you gone back and watched those recently, by the way?
Shouldn't we describe what these things are before we start talking about them to each other?
Well, first of all, I don't know.
Ooh.
I've never listened to Hannibal Buress's podcast. I only know him from his stand-up, and I thought his stand-up was pretty good. I enjoyed that. What's the fucking special? It might be Hannibal Buress Animal Furnace. That one might be my favorite. I don't remember which one it is. I've seen a couple. Anyways, Justin and I, way back in the day, used to go.
Justin is your friend?
Yeah, Justin is this guy I know. He's green. He's got a yellow shirt on. It says Postboy on it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Postboy and
you?
I, Justin was also there, but Postboy and I used to go to Smash tournaments hosted by these gay lovers. One of them played Donkey Kong, the other one played Samus. And the Donkey Kong one is the one who had his computer there, and he was running the stream. It was wonderful. It was very nice. It was a very small venue. It was a card shop, and the owner hated us. The owner did not like that we were there, but he agreed to let us be there. So I don't know. That's on him.
And it was also one of the worst areas to have a Smash tournament because it was extremely small, and the owner had a dog, and it was there's a lot of dog defecation.
Was there? Are you serious? I don't remember that.
Did you not realize this?
No,
Dude.
what? I knew it smelled
Yeah,
bad,
you
but I
don't-
thought that was just due to poor Smash player hygiene.
Well, I mean, it's not a good mix.
It was a really tiny venue, and it was really sweaty in there. Anyways,
Yeah.
Justin and I did commentary. I'm sorry, Justin doesn't exist. Postboy and I did commentary. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this.
Yeah, I don't want to do this either.
All right, I'm Zach, and this is Justin.
podcast is
Welcome
now
to
called,
Jackass.
Zach, and yeah, it's pretty good. Actually, yeah. So
Justin and I
I'm
did
actually,
commentary for some matches, and it was amazing. Justin was trying to say real Smash Brothers commentary things, and I was just kind of heckling him, and he was very annoyed. We
Yeah, it was the worst.
invented classic Smash Brothers commentary terms such as the Compton Bar Mitzvah and the Madman's Nooch. All just
the Madman's Nooch is. I'm pretty proud of that one, even though I didn't think of it.
mainstays. Dude, you were so annoyed with me. I could hear it in your voice. Even when you weren't saying, hello, I am annoyed. I could hear it in everything you said. You fucking did, like, Peach's Nooch off stage, like, 3 times in a row and gimped at low percent. And fucking, I was like, whoa, the Madman's Nooch. Oh my god, Justin, can we call that the Madman's Nooch? And you just turned to me and you were like, oh, yes, I think we should call it the Madman's Nooch, Zachary. Like, it was so funny. Just your tone. It was amazing. Like 15 seconds into the first round of commentary, you were like, it really sucks having a heckler as a co-commentator. Like, you knew from the beginning it would be a
I
nightmare.
forgot about that.
Yeah.
Do you like?
Yes.
Yeah?
What did you say, though?
What do you think about beef jerky?
Beef jerky? Oh, God,
Yeah.
I'm not into it. If I'm really hungry on a long car ride, yes. Otherwise, not really.
I feel like anybody who likes it really just likes steak, and they're just kind of kidding themselves because it's the closest thing to steak that you can have in the situation that you're in right now.
It's as close
Because
as
if
you
you
can
were
get.
having beef jerky on your plate, you would be wondering why you're not eating steak. You know what I mean?
a
But in
good
every
point.
other situation where it's not on a plate, it's a lot better than anything else because you like steak more than anything else. That was hard to explain.
Doesn't Ness like steak more than anything else? That's his favorite food?
Ness?
Yeah, in Earthbound, if you hit, like, default. If you hit default, you get, like, Ness, Paula, Jeff, Pooh, King as the dog's name. His favorite food, steak. Is that it? You're the Earthbound
Yeah.
aficionado here.
Yeah, it is steak.
Yeah.
It is steak.
I think I said it as
Ness
cookies
is,
when I did mine. Hey, what's his, what, and then, so that's his favorite food. You also set favorite thing, which becomes your first, like, PSI attack.
Yeah. Yeah, Ness's mother asks Pokey if he likes steak, and he doesn't, so then she's like, too bad, and makes Pokey eat it anyway.
Nice. Fuck Pokey.
It's kind of messed up. Yeah.
When I was a
Dude, you
child
like-
and I played Earthbound, I made my favorite food cookies, and I made my favorite thing games. So he usually attacked PSI games.
I looked up, by the way, the thing that I just said about Ness's mother, I looked up Ness' favorite food, and that was what came up. And it also says people also search for meat, hamburger, chicken as food, pork as food. What is sirloin steak? Filet, very filet, and 2 ribeye steaks.
Chicken as food, as opposed to its alternate uses as ceiling insulation. What the fuck? I love autocomplete shit like that. Have you ever searched what do I do if I accidentally build a shelf? Or help, I accidentally built a shelf.
What?
It's so good. My favorite answer to that was like a WikiHow answer or something. And the answer was just like, play it cool. Act like you totally meant to build that shelf in the first place. Say things like, oh, great, a shelf. I know just where to put this. It'll really liven up the room.
You know, I remember one time I was doing on like WikiHow or whatever, or whatever, not WikiHow, but whatever. It was some sort of like Yahoo Answers thing.
Yeah.
And I remember I looked at like a steak or something, and it was to exact specifications where it's like, how long do I cook this cut of steak that's exactly this weight? And I went through like hundreds of questions because I really wanted to cook it the exact right way. And I found it, and it was exactly like 44 point something ounces and exactly this cut. Then I found it, and the answer was like just some troll answer that was like, you barf and poo on it for 5 billion times, and then you put it in the oven for 4 trillion hours.
That's incredible. I love that.
Really
what the hell?
Yeah, it was really frustrating. It was pretty funny though.
That's goddamn incredible. Did I ever watch Clerks? No. That's the movie, right?
Yeah.
The movie.
So we can't have a Clerks podcast?
No, I'm sorry. Do you want to explain the plot of Clerks to me? Doesn't it not have one? Isn't it like Seinfeld where it's about nothing?
Pretty much, in a way, except Seinfeld is not really.
Dude, Friends is awful. Have you seen Friends recently?
I'm so glad that you said that.
Oh my god, someone finally understands. I was watching...
I don't understand how anyone can watch.
I don't understand how anyone can sit through that.
It's like ahead of its time in a way that every show now sucks. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and shows back then were at least good in a way that was like, well,
it's bad in a way that was ahead of its time. Because seeing it now is like, wow, this is just as bad as all the other things I don't like.
Yeah, exactly. Have you watched? Did you watch Seinfeld? Because Seinfeld's very funny.
I've seen some Seinfeld. I'm not a Seinfeld aficionado or anything, but I can still enjoy me some Seinfeld. But like, I was sitting downstairs the other day. I watched Atlanta. Have you seen Atlanta? Yeah. I watched season 2 of Atlanta, and I finished it, and the TV just went back to like whatever bullshit station it was on before. And you know when some shit comes on and it's like just passable, and you're like, I'm not gonna get up and change this. I don't really have anything else on my mind that I really want to watch. So you just kind of let it go. And then an episode of Friends comes on, and I'm like, oh yeah, people always speak very positively about this show. And I fucking watch it, and I'm like, oh, how did this? It's like when you see an animal that has like some sort of grave defect but is still around today. It's like, how did you survive evolution? How did this get 5 seasons? How did this stay around for 4 billion years? Like pugs. Like, how the fuck did that happen? They can't even see.
Friends are like the French bulldog of like the sitcom world, where they have back problems as soon as they mature.
And they can't poop properly, which is why they drag their butt along the floor. Just like that one episode of Friends. Did you ever watch Friends? I don't even get it. You know what? Let's just make this a Friends podcast. Welcome to Badman and Postboy. It's the only show where we don't talk about Dragon Ball at all. Because every other show has that. Every single other podcast talks about Dragon Ball at some point. Yeah. Do you like Dragon Ball? I like Dragon Ball. I was about to say that. Have you ever seen it? Yeah, I've seen some. What do you think about what was your retrospective? What is your retrospective on the series and IP as a whole? It's dope. I wish Goku didn't come back in the Buu Saga, so my main man Gohan could just tank all that shit by himself. Dude. Spoilers! I haven't seen one episode. But that's a pretty common complaint that like the Buu Saga was going to be like, it's the story of Gohan, the only guy who can do the stuff, and then they just bring Goku back, and it's like, well, what the fuck then? Why'd you even bring my son here if you're not going to use him? Yeah, that is true. Are there any so did you always think that was Vegeta always your favorite character? I always feel like he's by far like everyone's favorite. Gohan is my favorite, but I'm biased. Wait, what? What does that even mean? What, is he like your brother? Is he like your cousin?
I'm biased because he went to UC
Here's my
Berkeley like I
favorite
did.
character, but I'm biased. No,
Yeah,
Vegeta is
Gohan's my
infinitely.
favorite because he and I both went to Stanford. You know,
We were
Go
roommates.
Reds.
We were roommates when
Yeah.
Final Fantasy VII came out, and we played through it kind of at the same pace, so it was really special.
But then he found the ending, but he kind of just played the rest of my file because he was like, man, whatever. I at least want to be on the same level as this guy.
He watched Aerith die while I was in class, and I didn't get to that part of the game yet, so I just came back into our dorm, and he was just sitting on the bed, like hands folded, looking down, and I was like, "What's wrong?" And he was like, "Dude." It was a real, it was a real bonding moment between us. He looked up and he was like, "Dude."
Oh, dude.
Gohan
So
was
bad.
Mordecai. Oh, I was the only one who knew. That's what brought us so close together. Can you do your Mark Wahlberg impression?
I actually don't have one, but I'll get back to you on that one.
Are you serious?
Let's see. Hey, Dwog, that one?
Yeah, that's pretty great. Thank you. I
So what do
appreciate
you
you
think
bringing
about,
this level of quality to the podcast.
What do you think about the Disaster Artist, the movie, as opposed to Disaster Artist, the book?
I actually wanted to talk about this with you. This is something I really actually went into this podcast wanting to discuss. I
That'd be
read
funny.
Disaster Artist, the book.
We just keep the rest of the we just keep the rest of the podcast like, wow, I'm really proud of that. I'm really glad that we as friends.
You
can
know,
do
I'm
it.
so glad we're really on the same wavelength here.
All right, that was the first episode of
Of Badman and Postboy. Stay tuned for the next time where we clap ourselves on the back even harder.
dude. So yeah, what was it? So what'd you think?
I read The Disaster Artist, the book, in like late 2016, and then I saw the movie when it came out earlier this year, and, I feel that Greg Sestero, or Dave Franco's portrayal of Greg Sestero is pretty crap. I think he was a pretty significant miscast. I did not feel he was a good Greg. I thought James Franco as Tommy was pretty all right.
Yeah, I feel like it kind of, if anything, he at least got into the character in a way that was like he clearly really, really thought that the story was so interesting that he's probably the only person who could have possibly brought that much, love to the cast. You know what I mean? I feel like most people, because he's so alien, the way that Tommy Wiseau acts, it's like nobody wants to even act like him.
Nobody wants to do the impression.
In normal day-to-day life, he acts like a bad actor.
Yeah.
So how do you pretend to be someone who already seems like a bad actor doing a fake accent?
It comes from within. It's
Exactly,
inner power
it
that he
makes no
has.
sense.
Dragon energy.
I feel like
I liked the
do
book.
everything
Is the
else
point?
is
I really enjoyed the book. I thought it had some real heart that I thought the movie kind of lacked. I mean, in the movie, it was kind of like, "Hey, let's make a movie together," and then he was like, "Yeah," and then they do it. It was kind of like, I don't know. I don't know where I'm trying to go with it, but I thought the book had a pretty solid, like, emotional punch. It had some heart to it.
I think I feel like I don't want to be one of those people who it's like they kind of just make every they make the complaint that every complaint that every person makes when there's an adaptation from book to movie where it's like, well, you don't really get the thoughts of the main character, which is true because it's kind of like an autobiography. It's pretty much like you knew the story of like what happened with the room, if you really followed it, but you read the book and it's like, wow, it's so cool. You get to get Greg's perspective.
Yeah.
But this time it was pretty much just like another eye, just a little bit closer than what we thought it was. And I'm sure we could have pieced together that, he got parts and Tommy didn't get parts, so they decided to make a movie, and the movie didn't go well. It didn't seem like there was a whole lot in between there that they didn't show that isn't in the book. You know what I mean? I mean, that's in the book that you couldn't have gathered just from knowing the true story. One thing is, number one, one of my biggest problems, this is going to have a lot of spoilers, guys, so if you haven't seen it.
If you haven't seen The Room, dude, I went to a screening of The Room in the movie theater after Disaster Artist came out with my mom, because she also read the book and watched the movie, and we both laughed hysterically. It was really great.
I actually got the book for my mom.
Aw.
So, for like Mother's Day. So I kind of just got it's like you buy someone a book, but the book is in your house, so it's now your book. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
true. I did that in reverse, where I bought the book for myself, and then I gave it to my mom, and she was like, I can't read, and so she listened to it, the audiobook. And then that
Oh.
prompted me to reread it because it had been like a year or two. It prompted me to reread it with the audiobook. It was really good. I really
What did
like
you
the
think-
audiobook because he's constantly having to do Tommy's voice.
What I didn't like about it is I don't like how my biggest problem with the movie itself was one thing is I don't want to be a nitpicker, but I did really dislike that one joke when they're showing when they're doing the what's it called, the auditions for Lisa. Number
Oh,
one,
yeah.
Lisa didn't look at all like.
Oh
Lisa.
no, that was terrible. She wasn't even close. It was incredible. I wonder,
there was
you know
one
what
thing
that
where
was?
it's like-
That was probably
yeah.
somebody's friend who was already in the cast, like fucking Joe? James Franco or Dave Franco probably knew her, and they were like homies, and they were like, "Yeah, come be in our movie about this silly movie."
Because it's not like because the only thing that she had in common was the fact that she was blonde.
Yeah, it was
She didn't
just
have
the
same
hair.
face at all.
Not even
It was,
close.
I mean, it just I don't know. It was really weird. But I remember like reading that. But the guy that they got to play Danny or whatever he was great. I think he
Yeah.
looked a little bit older because when you watch the movie, you don't really. I mean, me personally, I don't really think of him as being like, okay, that guy's clearly like 50 years old. So, but for me, I mean, I didn't really have that problem. But I remember one thing is I don't like that joke where it was like, Tommy Wiseau was saying like, oh, imagine if I am your boyfriend, and she's like screams. It's like, oh my god, that's such a cheesy joke,
Yeah.
It's like they really didn't try on that one. I feel like it was like that made it seem so cheesy. It really took me out of it because I feel like any movie that's based on a true story, even like barely, it kind of it should at least paint itself like this stuff vaguely happened. You know what I mean? So that I felt like,
And they weren't
any
really
movie
going for
where
shit like that the rest of the movie. Like, they kept it pretty...
Yeah.
I don't know. They didn't go for goofy shit like that the rest of the movie, I don't feel. Or...
Because I feel like if you're
I don't know,
reading the book,
maybe
the
this is going to be
parts
one of those
where-
times where somebody in the comments is like, they rewatch The Disaster Artist looking for shit to prove me wrong, and then just link me time codes of it. That reminds me of...
just every 5 minutes.
That reminds me of the fucking Game Grumps episode where they play Brawl, and they're just making fun of Melee players the whole time. They're like, people are going to be mad we're playing Brawl because there's no wave dashing. He's like, you guys suck,
Yeah,
shut up.
That was the worst. And they were like,
was terrible.
people who say they won't play Brawl because it has no tripping. And it's like, yeah, it does also, I mean, it has tripping. It's like, yeah, it has tripping, but it also has everything else wrong with it. That's just Brawl, But yeah, the thing about the movie is like also, I felt like part of the reason it kind of made sense to have like them do really, like when Tommy would say something ridiculous or do something ridiculous, like, he would, Greg in the movie would kind of laugh it off, or like you could kind of tell that he's kind of humoring him.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of makes it seem like it was a lot more realistic than it was in the book, because when Tommy would say something like, like was it when it's like, isn't it like really late at night and at some point they go to like the grave of someone? Right?
What the fuck?
They go to like an actor.
Oh, yeah, where they see James Dean. They see James Dean's
he's like-
memorial on
he's
the
like
side of
a-
the road.
Yeah, they're like, hey, let's go see it right now. He's like, what? You know what I mean? He acts like it's like a crazy idea, because if they kind of blew it off and not had the character act like he's like shocked by it, it wouldn't seem true. And even if it was true and he didn't react like that, having him react like that kind of makes it seem more realistic.
Mm-hmm. So they're
It's
keeping
like,
the
yeah,
rest of
okay,
it kind
I
of
guess I'll go
grounded
with-
and realistic, but then they go for this weirdly, overly cheesy joke, and you're like, why, dude?
It's like, exactly, yeah. It was like they actually try. It's like they kind of put their first thing first there, and then at the end. Oh, and what did you think about the ending? How inconsistent it was? I feel like, personally, I didn't have as much of a problem with it, because, well, I always hate the argument when people are like, like, let's say there's some movie where, the true story is that this crazy thing happened. Like,
What was
let's say
that
you're
movie
making a
where at the
movie-
beginning they put based on a true story, and someone was like, so what was the real case like? And there's like, well, it doesn't exist. We just put that there. There's no law saying you can't put that there.
Well, there's
Wasn't that
it did
Fargo?
happen there, yeah.
Was that a television show? I don't remember if that's a movie or not.
Well, I just remember that at some point there was a movie. There was what's it called? That in The Strangers. You know that movie?
No,
There was
what? Oh,
The
did you watch
Strangers
fucking
about-
Passengers? Did you fucking watch that movie?
Yeah, I did.
So how about that
About it.
movie, Justin? How about
That's
it?
it. I met the guy who directed it. He
Really?
came to my work. Yeah, but I didn't say anything.
You didn't fucking spit in his coffee?
No way, dude.
Did you really
I
like
wish.
Are you a big fan? Are you a fucking Passenger stan? By the way, can we talk
You
about
know,
Stan?
I feel like we're not done with this. I feel like I'm still trying to get back to
The
disaster
disaster
artist.
artist?
But number one, I'll just make it quick. Is that the ending? I feel like any time. Let's say if there was some movie like during the '80s, which makes no sense, about 9/11 that
Yeah.
happened, and it's like, well, why did they show
What
the
the hell?
explosion? And then someone makes the argument, well, how are they going to do that? It's not like they, you know what I mean? It's like, how are they going to do that? It sounds like it would cost millions of dollars to do it. And it's like, I feel like that argument is kind of ridiculous because it's like, well, I mean, I'm not the one making the movie. You know, there's a point where you're supposed to do something artistically, where it's like, how are they supposed to make it have a happy ending or have a good ending? That's the only way it could have ended. It's like, well, I mean, like the reason is because I feel like people make that excuse when it comes to the disaster artist, where it's like, how are they supposed to make it end the way that it ended in real life? Then the movie would be 4 hours long. Where it's like, or you could just, maybe, as a director, think of a way to artistically show like the passage of time where he slowly starts to realize that, that starts to give in to the pressure of it being like a campy movie.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like the ending where it ends and then where it ends and he feels like he pretends like it was supposed to be a comedy. I realize that didn't actually happen, but I personally didn't take from it like it was some kind of like, oh, they try to make it feel like it was the feel good movie of the year where it ends happily. I
My
feel like they
thing,
just did that. Like
my
I feel like it
thing,
kind of fit the what's it called, the spirit of what I got from from the book.
hmm. I don't know. I mean, I appreciated that it was kind of a looser adaptation. Like it kind of, it did some things like pretty strictly by the book, but they also had a lot of like, I don't know, they're just having fun with it. It was a looser interpretation in a lot of ways, and I appreciated that because I feel that you cannot win with a direct, like a very strict interpretation, because there's always gonna be like they didn't do this part as good. But if you set out to make it sort of looser, then that's a free out for everything. You're like, yeah, we were kind of doing our own take on it. So you're like, well, the book did
Yeah,
it
that's
better,
true.
and he was like, yeah, but we weren't trying to do the same thing, obviously, idiot. So it's a get out of jail free card. But what I yeah, I guess I kind of don't like the ending either now that I'm thinking about it. At the time, I
Really,
was
I kind
like,
of liked it.
I don't
I
know,
just
because
don't.
it was
I just feel like how would they have done the ending differently? And obviously, I'm not a director, so I can't really make that argument. Where it's like, well, I mean, I can't think of a way they could have ended it better. Where it's like, yeah, that's why I'm not a director.
well, why don't you make a
So
better
it's like,
video game? Well, I can't,
yeah, exactly.
obviously. The fuck do you want
That's
me to
kind of the
do?
argument that I hate. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but like in the book, it ends with like Tommy does that like speech on stage before the movie starts, and he's like terrified. And he comes back and sits down, and Greg looks over at him, and the lights go down, and that's like the end of the book. But in the movie, then they have like everybody laughing hysterically, and then he's like, "I want to die. My movie is bad," and he's like, "No, no, no, it's good." It's like
Yeah,
I
kind
don't
of
know. Isn't that
silly.
implied? Because isn't that part of like the context of why we're watching The Disaster Artist right now? Because the room is funny. Don't we know that?
Yeah, I guess that does
I don't
make
know.
sense.
Does anybody go to The Disaster Artist not knowing it's about the room? Not knowing what the room is? Do you think anybody went to
No,
it like that? I don't think it had a
I feel like
extremely like I don't think it had a really prolific showing everywhere.
if it did, I feel like well, I mean, it did. He did. What's his name? Won the Oscar or something like that for best performance, right?
Who? James?
For playing for being Tommy, yeah.
James
Tommy
Flanco?
Wiseau. Yeah, he won some sort of award for that. I'm not sure if it was like a Golden Globe or
You want to
something. I'm
fact
not
check
really
that
into
shit?
that. I mean, to be fair, I mean those things are probably all paid off in the first place. You know what I'm saying?
James Franco wins.
Are you gonna edit that empty noise with a keyboard sound effect?
It sounds horrible, doesn't it? That sounds
Yeah, it's kind
insanely
of weird.
awful.
Yeah, it's kind
Uh,
of weird. It kind of sounds like
he
you
won a
just
Golden
put a
Globe.
microphone up to it. Oh, yeah. See, so clearly there was some sort of like recognition that the movie got, where some people, like a lot of people, had to have watched it. Either that, or maybe they just did that to promote the
Dude,
movie. I wouldn't
fucking
be
shit
surprised.
wins Oscars all the time that nobody watched.
Really?
I feel like that. I feel like a lot of you know what they call Oscar bait, where they show it in theaters for like just a couple weeks, just so they can have just because you have to show it in theaters for a certain amount of time for it to be Oscar eligible, and it's just like a really like an art house film that like 4 people watched and like 5 people made, and then they're like, yes, this is high art. It's like, yeah, all right, great that you're recognizing it, but like no one's ever heard of any of these movies.
So 4 of the 5 people who made the movie got at least one person to watch it, and the 5th guy had no friends.
I mean, that's what I was going for. I'm happy that you picked up on it.
These movies, but the thing is like, I feel like...
what do you think, what does Oscar bait mean to you?
I thought Oscar bait was like, you know, like, kind of just like a fake tearjerker that's only made, you know what I mean? Where it's like a story about like, a handicapped widow, you know, teaches blind kids how to, you know, be gay. where it checks every box. It's got the LGBT crowd. It's got the groundbreaking whatever. And he's probably domestically abused, so that it's like, oh, how.
So what you're telling me is that your idea of Oscar bait is just The Fault in Our Stars.
Exactly, not necessarily.
But it's exactly what you want out of an Oscar bait movie. It's disabled people being gay. And there's an old widow. I've not seen The Fault in Our Stars. Holy shit, do you want to talk about The Fault in Our Stars? And I haven't seen it. Well,
for one thing, they aren't gay.
I know.
Because they're together.
You know what? I retroactively like that movie more because it has Mr. Baby Driver in it.
Oh, yeah.
And I think I talked to you about Baby Driver, and you were like, I like that movie less because it has Mr. Fault in Our Stars in it.
Whoa, I did not say that because I never made that realization.
What, really? You didn't know that until now? Or you didn't think about it?
Yeah, I didn't know that. Who played him? I forgot.
Mike Ehrmantraut. No, I'm kidding. That's the name of the hitman from Breaking Bad.
Oh, wow. For a second, I thought it was
Ansel Elgort.
It's not Miles Teller,
Ansel Elgort.
Okay.
That's his name.
Whatever.
No, that was my brother that said that to me.
Driver, right?
What's up?
That's the guy from Baby Driver, right?
Ansel Elgort, yes. He also played Fault in Our Stars boy.
Oh, God. That movie sucked. Let's not even talk about that.
Are you sure?
You ever seen Stan?
I want to.
You ever see The Fault in Our Stars?
The Fault in Our Stars? Hold on one second. The one thing I do want, never mind. This joke is not going to translate well at all to the audio medium. Do you remember the joke?
What joke?
Do you remember who did you go to see it with? You went to see it with some girl you were going out with.
Yeah, that happened.
Anyways, and you were like, I was just bored the entire time, and also my eyes don't work. Little background. My man Postboy over here has no eyes. You're like, yeah, my eyes don't work. So in all the scenes where they were texting each other and their text message bubbles were coming up next to their heads, it was just so blurry I couldn't even read it. And so they were just like looking at their phones like, oh, and just fucking jamming on the things. But it was like, I have no idea what's happening.
It's like, I don't even get it. I don't get it. Is this supposed to be like cute? I really hope this isn't like some huge exposition thing.
I hope this doesn't matter, so my blindness does not impair me.
Exactly.
More than it usually does, at least.
So,
what do you want to talk about? Stan? Stan, the music video?
What do you think about Stan? Yeah.
By Eminem?
Yeah, Eminem. What do you think about that?
Oh, man, we talked about this for a little bit, and I was saying that, it's kind of fucked up that people on Twitter and in life in general on the internet use the term Stan now as like an extreme fan. Like I would label myself a Kanye Stan. Like I've heard the albums. I've listened to fucking like fan like versions of extended albums and shit. I fucking my wallpaper right now is Kanye, I think. Hold on. I'm gonna drag this shit out. Yep, it's Kanye. Anyways, but like as a word to mean super fan, whereas it's strange that it became that because Stan was not a positive term in the song Stan. Stan is like, you love this person so much, you love this artist so much, it kills you.
Yeah.
Like it was not a thing to aspire to be, but now it has become like just a word for big fan.
And it kind of gets to the point where it not only ruins your life, but it makes you neglect everything else.
Oh yeah.
Like this girlfriend is like, it's pretty weird. When it's kind of weird how we can't really. I mean, I don't know when that music video came out, but I definitely was not fully cognizant.
Oh yeah, the first time I listened to Stan, man, I didn't start listening to rap until I was like 14 or 15. I had like never heard rap music before that. I'd heard it, but I was not interested. And then when I was like 14, I think it was 14, I heard like a remix of an Eminem song with Satisfaction by Benny Benassi.
God.
I heard that remix and I was like, "Oh damn. This goes ham. I want to listen to more of this." So then I had an Eminem phase, and then I had a George Watsky phase, which persists to this very day. And then I started appreciating hip hop and rap music in general. But so when I first heard Stan, I was like 15, 16. So it hit me when I first heard it. So I guess when you first heard it, you were like too young to know or care.
Yeah, I didn't really. I mean, it was just not necessarily that. It was just that not only did I not get it, but
Yeah,
I mean, not
just
get
not
it as
getting
in
it.
like an. I didn't really get it in like a. I don't
Yeah,
mean
you
like I
didn't-
didn't get it in like an artistic way. I mean, I really didn't understand it.
Yeah, you
But
didn't know what was
watching
going
it,
on.
yeah, I kind of lost the impact, so that when I watched it later, it was like, oh, this is that thing from my childhood that I didn't understand. You know,
Yeah.
it's kind of weird. I mean,
remember
watching it now, it's like, I don't know. I don't know if it ages well.
when we were talking about Stan before, it was like, you said something really funny that was like, yeah, it's a great song, but I wish he didn't have that fourth verse in there where he makes it look like he's Santa Claus and always answers fans and like he's the good guy regardless.
Yeah, that's why I brought it up. Yeah, I couldn't remember why I brought it up. Yeah, because you and I have a dispute on that. You
Yeah.
think that actually should belong in there, but I feel
I
like when
kind
he
of
puts
do.
that in
I mean,
there,
I
all
agree
it
that
does
it's
is,
like it really polishes his halo, but I think it serves a purpose.
I don't know if I like the purpose. I think it would have been like not only more realistic, but I feel like it would have more impact where it's like the whole point is that he never really even got to reach Eminem and he was completely delusional the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
You know? Because in real life, if that actually happened, that was what would be happening.
Yeah, that
You know
would
what I
be
mean?
the way.
Because
That would be what's
yeah,
up.
unless they found the tape and then they played it, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Because odds are, if someone did send him that tape, send him tapes like that, not only would he not reply, but he obviously wouldn't be able to listen to them. You know,
Mhm.
he's not going to listen to everybody's mixtape that comes in, even if they're just telling stories or whatever. You know, but I feel like when the ending, when it has him reading it and listening to them, and then halfway writing it, and then halfway writing a note back to him,
Mhm.
so it kind of makes it seem like that he's pretty much just polishing his halo,
Mhm.
and then at the end
He's
I
like,
don't know,
oh
I feel
damn,
like
it
he
was
felt
you.
like I feel like he felt like he had to put that in because otherwise it's like, how am I going to end it? I can't just end it like that.
I can't just
You know,
end
like,
it with a car crash off a bridge
Yeah.
with a mother and a baby in the trunk. You can't end it
Yeah.
like that. But you know what? I actually, I think I do. I just while you were talking just now, I think I figured out the purpose of that last verse in Stan. And the purpose of it is that Eminem fans need to be explicitly told Stan is a bad example and don't follow him. Like, of course he dies at the end of the song, but like Eminem in Criminal, he has a fucking, what I can only describe as a bank robbery interlude in the middle where he shoots that woman, and he totally makes it out like, yeah, I shot that lady at the bank. Like, I feel
you ever
that
listen to,
verse is necessary just to make sure there's no confusion. Anyway, continue.
What's the one where he writes a song about like his ex-girlfriend or something like that? Where he kills her at the end and he chokes her out?
Oh no, that's Kim. That's Kim.
Kim.
Where he writes a song about
I listened
Kim.
to that for the first time recently, and that was like, oh my god.
Yeah, it was
I remember
really
hearing that
intense.
I remember hearing it that people thought that it was extremely intense, like back then, but that people were kind of blowing it out of proportion, supposedly. But then I heard it recently because I never heard it back then.
And you were like, no, it is that intense.
Like,
this is fucked.
It was like, yeah, that's actually way too far. Yeah, that's kind of stupid. It's like he's trying a little bit too hard to be like insane. And
I don't
like,
know. I think he had to
know.
make sure it was future proof so that you couldn't listen to it 10 years later and be like, it's not that. It's pretty tame. He had to future proof
Did you listen to it when it was popular, or did you, or like when?
No,
like,
I listened
when
to
you were
it when I was
younger,
like
you thought it was
15
great?
in my Eminem phase. So I heard it and I was like, oh my god. Like I was
awesome.
spooked. This is amazing. I love this. I want to do
so
this
weird.
too. You know what? He needs a verse in Kim where he tells people not to murder their ex-wives. He needs a verse at the end where he polishes his halo.
Where Stan where Stan writes him a letter, or like he's right about the choker, and then the car from that Stan's car comes and crushes him right before he.
I thought you were gonna say the car comes to life and saves Kim's life. The car comes to life like in Skateboard Boy, and he's like, "You get off of her right now." Oh man.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Shit, what else was I gonna say? Oh yeah, and then you ever hear 97 Bonnie and Clyde? How
I
like
have not.
Kim,
Is it great?
the song Kim ends with the sound of him dragging her body away, and then I believe 97 Bonnie and Clyde opens with a little bit of dragging sound, and then a car trunk shutting, and the song is about how he's taken his daughter to the beach so he can drop mom's body in the ocean. So it's like a direct sequel. You know what? Speaking of Eminem direct sequels, you ever listen to the sequel to Stan from the Marshall Mathers LP2?
I heard that. Yeah, did you?
What the fuck? What's going on? I feel like that is the oh god, what to compare that to? What to compare that to that was amazing and they gave it a fucking sequel and just retroactively tarnished it?
Yeah, it was pretty bad. It was like MG. If people know, if people are even old enough to know what Metal Gear Solid is anymore, maybe it's an old man's series.
It was like MG what?
Metal Gear Solid 4.
Oh
and
man,
all those quirky guys from Metal Gear Solid 3 into the super evil,
yeah,
masterminds.
But look, listen,
where it's like
I played MGS4 first. Out of all the Metal Gears, I started with 4, which is perhaps the worst place ever to start.
That's like that is the game in a series where it absolutely needs context from every single game and is filled with fan service from every single game.
Yeah.
If you're not in the know, it's pretty much like there's no reason not to skip the cutscenes, and each cutscene is like 40 minutes long.
Well, I had general knowledge of like who these people were because I was kind of playing 1 in tandem with it, but I kind of knew who all these people were. But the point is that like everything, like you played through 1, 2, 3, and then 4, and you were like, oh, it's these characters I know. It's like I played 4, and then 1, 2, 3, and Peace Walker, and I was like, hey, I know this guy. I know what he looks like when he's really old. It was like I did it all backwards.
Like when he dies.
But but the point of it is that the retcons, quote unquote, don't make me angry because for me that's how it always was. Like, I started with knowing that that's that. Like, I was in 4, and I saw at the end where he chokes out Zero, and then I played 3, and I was like, oh, this is the guy he chokes out in 70 years. Like...
Really? That's interesting, because I feel like for most people, it's like, for anybody who hasn't played the game, in Metal Gear Solid 3, there's a bunch of these characters...
Wow, this is the most inaccessible podcast of all time. You have to have seen Food Fight, Casablanca, The Disaster Artist, and read the book. You have to play all the Metal Gears. You gotta know who Dan Hibden is, which is fucking impossible.
Whoa, hey. Oh, that's a little bit too far.
I mean, listen, I love Dan Hibden, but how many subs does he have? Kinslate HQ. Let's look at him. Here we go. Opening it up. He has 242 subscribers. The video he released 3 days ago has 18 views. How many do I have? Okay, let's go to my channel. You're going to regret asking me this question. 8,705.
Uh-huh.
What is that supposed to mean?
Yeah, I see how it is. Want to know how many I have?
How many?
5.
Nice. Am I subscribed to you? You don't make any videos, but am I subscribed to you?
I make videos at the wazoo, buddy.
Holy
I actually
shit.
do make videos.
Speaking of, do you?
Yeah, I actually do. Never mind. What were we talking about?
I think you've shown me a video of yours before, like in fucking in like 10th grade fucking chemistry or whatever, geology with Rivness.
So my video, sorry, not my video. What was I saying? So so in what's it called? In
Metal Gear Solid 3, something about me knowing that he's going to choke him out in 70 years.
Well, there's these
there's these characters, is what you said.
There's these comic relief characters who will pretty much brief you on your mission.
Oh yeah, there's the black guy Sigint who's like, "Yo, Snake, here's what your weapons do," and that's not what he sounds like. And then there's Paramedic who's like, "Snake, have you ever seen Dracula?" And he's like, "No." And then they talk about Dracula for a little bit. And then there's Zero.
It's like a break from the action.
Where you can call them on the codec and just have funny little conversations with them. I am in love with Paramedic. She's my Metal Gear waifu.
But then if you play Metal Gear Solid 4, it said that one of the twists in the game is that those characters who were clearly just at the time when they were created, they were clearly just comic relief characters.
Yeah, they were just goobers.
They were actually these masterminds that were controlling everything in the whole, the whole government and pretty much every single sector of the whole world.
I always got the feeling that they... Well, I guess this is impossible because the Patriots existed during Metal Gear Solid 3. Or did they? No, they didn't. It was the Philosophers, and then they had the Philosopher's Legacy. They used that to create the Patriots.
Yeah.
Okay, so I always got the feeling that you saw them in MGS3 as goobers, and that was like their early form. That was their first form, and then they powered up after they got the Philosopher's Legacy. Wasn't some part of that during fucking San Geronimo in Portable Ops? I didn't play that one.
Portable Ops is no longer canon.
I know, but some of it is, because in the beginning of Peace Walker, he's like, "Boss, finally we can leave all that nonsense in San Geronimo behind."
Yeah, that is true. For those who haven't played Portable Ops,
don't.
Wow, this is just getting even more.
This is completely inaccessible.
This is that we even mentioned the one obscure game in the obscure series.
We mentioned the only game no one has played in a series that nobody cares about.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Well, not nobody. People like 5. 5 sold a bunch of monies.
Yeah,
5 sold a bunch of units and got a bunch of monies. But like,
I was reading about a lot of the things that didn't work in Metal Gear Solid 5, and man, I would explain them, but I don't want this to get any more inaccessible than it is. But oh man, there was gonna be the whole, obviously Snake killing Big Boss, your character. And there was also gonna be the scene where you tortured the Gray Fox when he was just a soldier.
Oh man, that would have been so sick.
Onto Zanzibar Island. Yeah, before
really?
He was even a cyber soldier.
Honestly, if that game had ended with a mission where you play as Solid Snake infiltrating not Outer Heaven. What is it? No, Outer Heaven. No. Zanzibar Land is from
Island.
Metal Gear 2.
Yeah.
Zanzibar Land is Metal Gear 2. Trust me. I think.
There's Zanzibar Land and Zanzibar Island.
All right, we're looking it up. I'm going to type really hard. Zanzibar Land. Zanzibar Land. Son of a bitch. Where am I looking? Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake. Zanzibar Land is the setting of Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake. Boom. Let's go see Metal Gear. Where does Metal Gear take place? Yeah, Outer Heaven. Outer Heaven. It takes place on
really?
Outer Heaven, which is what you make out of Diamond Dogs after the credits. He makes Diamond Dogs into Outer Heaven. Anyways, I would have forgiven that game for all of its sins if we got to play as Solid Snake infiltrating Outer Heaven in fucking Fox Engine graphics as like the last mission of the game. And
he was just supposed to be a regular soldier. He wasn't this like crazy hardened monster, He was supposed to be this like 18 or 19-year-old soldier who doesn't know anything about his like past.
Yeah, he was just a kid, and he sacrifices himself to let you complete the mission and be a good guy, like 3 times in 3 separate games. So that's pretty dope. He does that in Metal Gear. He does it in Metal Gear 2, and then he does it in Metal Gear Solid. It's awesome. What's his famous line of dialogue? He's like, "Fighting was all I was ever good at. That and making cheese sandwiches." What's the second part of that line? Fighting was all I ever good at. All was ever good at.
Are you talking about Gray Fox?
Yeah, Gray Fox when he gets stepped on by Metal Gear Rex.
It was the only thing that I was good at, or something. Yeah.
What's the second part?
But at least I was fighting for what I believed in.
Aw.
And then go Snake or something like that. Yeah.
Podcasting was the only thing I was ever good at. But at least I was podcasting.
That concludes our first episode
for something I believed in, specifically Food Fight.
And thank you all.
I thought you said Advent. That concludes our first episode of Advent Children, the podcast. Should we make that the title and totally betray our principles and make it not make sense to the last minute?
I like that idea. I like that. That's pretty good.
All right. Thanks for tuning in to the first episode of Postboy and Bad Boy.
Thank you all. Postboy and Boy.
Post and Badman. Stay tuned for episode 2 featuring special guest Dan Hibden, a.k.a. Kinslate HQ.
If we can get him.
I'll try my damnedest.
Unless the next episode is Dan Hibden's podcast.
Oh, shit. Do you think we should give him the podcast as a gift at the end of the episode? It's all yours now, man. Take it. We want you to have it. All right. That's enough.